Okay, folks, thanks for listening today, and I'm really excited to have Sean Degnan on the phone. Sean is an owner of Buku in Raleigh, North Carolina, and they're all about global street food, and I'll get Sean to kind of talk a little bit about the concept and why they started it. You guys have had this place, Sean, for about 5 years now, is that right?
Just a little over 5 years, yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining today, and I appreciate you taking the time. And just talk a little bit about the background behind Buku and why you got started it, and what you had done prior to that. Is this your first restaurant you've owned, or have you owned other ones?
No, Tony, my partner, and I worked for Rocky Top Hospitality for a long time, and we opened a lot of restaurants for that company, like 7 of them, and then decided to go out on our own. And we met up with William Dovray of Finn's Restaurant. It was in North Raleigh for a long time, and it was a really awesome little restaurant. And it moved downtown right when the economy crashed, and so there was this beautiful fine dining seafood restaurant in downtown Raleigh, and it needed some like new life, and we came up along with William with a small plates street food concept that we thought would be a little more fun, a little more inviting, and it's something you could, a place that you could go a couple times a week instead of a couple times a year for your birthday or your anniversary. So we came up with a menu that was street food from all over the world that's fun to talk about, fun to learn about, and fun to, drink with alongside. So
nice. And so you and Tony had worked together for a long time at Rocky Top?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So at 7 different restaurants. We started together at Michael Dean's, and then we opened up Bogart's and High Five and the Red Room and Twisted Fork. And, by the time that I left Rocky Top, I was director of operations, and Tony was kind of becoming the director of culinary. And we were talking to some other people about opening our own place, and just kind of got that ball rolling.
Because it was just like you knew it would be so easy, right?
Yeah, so easy. 5 years of bliss.
That's interesting because so it's a tough business. You guys had seen, you've been around long enough to see that it wasn't easy. But what really made you kind of decide, I've enjoyed doing this for somebody for a while, but now I want to do it for myself. What was what kind of sparked that in you and Tony, and to kind of make that leap? Because that's a big leap, and it's taken a lot more responsibility and risk. Yeah,
I mean, obviously survival and needing to make money, that's part of it. But we also we just really loved it. We really loved working together. When we started coming up with concepts together, we were working as chef and sous chef, prepping side by side all day, listening to loud music, and just talking about, if it was ours, what would we do differently? And that was when we were working at the Red Room, and it was small plates and tapas, when tapas were very new to Raleigh. And most of the people that called up on the phone, they're like, "Are you topless or tapas?" And we're like, "No, we're tapas." And it was just a fun and exciting time, for Raleigh to be kind of reaching its, culinary, really, really starting point, and where food was getting really exciting in Raleigh. And we just kept coming up with different ideas. And then when we went and looked at different spaces, we came up with different concepts for different spaces. Then when we met William, who had an amazing restaurant for years and years and years, it was fun to sit down with him and come up with something that, was totally different than anything that anyone had seen yet, at least around here.
Well, one thing I've heard before, which I think is interesting, because you and Tony in particular had worked together for a while is, and I'm curious the dynamic that you had, with the two of you, and how you've been able to make it work with William as well. But one thing I was told before, which I thought was really interesting, is don't go into partnership in the restaurant business unless you know what somebody's like when you're under fire. Like, it's one thing to know somebody and have a friend, but it's another thing to know, how does this person operate when times are tough, when things are crazy, when, bad things happen. Where so you clearly had years of experience, and you and Tony knew how each other operated, and you worked well together. Is that an important part of developing a good restaurant partnership?
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the scariest thing is trusting that the other person is not going to walk away when it gets really tough. We have been in nearly knockdown, drag-out fights out back, away from everybody about disagreeing about something that we think is really important at the time. But it's like, you say it's like a marriage, but people get divorced all the time. It's like more than a marriage. You know that no matter what is said or how bad the night goes, that you're going to be working together tomorrow, so you might as well come to some sort of, realization together that you're going to have to be able to get through this. And I mean, we had been through some tough times together. There were New Year's Eves where we were rolling phyllo dough wrapped bananas at midnight for people for dessert at midnight on New Year's Eve after they definitely didn't want to be eating anymore, and the night was just going late. There were, just nights that didn't go right. Nights where there was a night that we actually moved Tony into his new house, and we had a new sous chef at the Red Room, and it was Sunday night when we did like this all-you-could-eat tapas buffet, and we came in, and our new sous chef had been watching football all day long, and he wasn't ready at all, and we came in, and it was a disaster. But even after nights like that, the fact that that person's not going to walk away, it makes it so that you can have a real fight. It makes it so that you can say everything that's on your mind, and the next day they're still going to be there, and that's really important. Wow,
that's yeah, man. I mean, that's really, I guess that is, if you're able to find somebody that you can have that level of intense disagreement with, and then still, neither one kind of throws in the towel, so to speak. And how do you? So you knew each other then, but you met William. Is it more of a challenge to kind of develop that kind of relationship with a new partner, or how do you bring somebody new into the fold and make that work?
Well, we weren't very successful with it. William actually, he was with us for about a year of planning Buku, but he was going through some personal tough times and had a divorce, and so he actually moved on a little bit later. But he definitely, helped us. He was the brainchild of a lot of the menu to start with, and he was an awesome partner to have for as long as we had him. He has a restaurant in Maine, in Portland, Maine now. So we have brought on a lot of people that are definitely like family to us. In fact, members of our family work, with us on and off in the restaurant. So we're able to bring people on and create those relationships. But I don't think any of the relationships are as strong as the one that the two of us can't leave. Everyone else can quit and go on about their lives, but the two of us will be there, till the doors close.
Now, and so you do have. I think because I was looking on your Our Story page, your About page, or whatever, and I saw Mandy dating. Is that Mandy, your wife?
Yeah. Yep. She's 7 months pregnant right now, so she'll be taking a little break here. And thank you. She'll be taking a little break here in a couple months.
To your point, and other people can come and go if necessary, but you can't. Well, is that a challenge too? Having your wife involved and working together. I mean, I know for some people that probably works well. For some, it may. I mean, I feel like I'd have a hard time. I love my wife to death, but working with her. So is that just something that you kind of learn to manage, or did you just knew you all
Sure.
work together well?
Sure. Tony's wife also worked to help open the restaurant too. Until she had their first child, she was our events coordinator, and she was our like hiring manager, and Mandy kind of took over her role. Mandy was the bar manager, and she took over Ellen's role after Ellen went on maternity leave. But yeah, I mean, Mandy and I have worked together for most of the time that we've known each other. So it was actually harder for us when we worked in different restaurants, which is weird. It's very unlike most relationships. So it'll actually be weird and different for us when we don't work together, when she has a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, throw a kid into the mix. It will be weird and different, man. I'll tell you that. I've got 3 of them. Well, okay, so tell me a little bit about, I like the concept, global street food. Did you guys, it sounds like William wasn't really involved with that as well, but did you travel to come up with some of the menu, or how did you do that?
Well, there's a lot of how it came together. William had grown up on the West Coast and also spent some time in the Philippines and Southeast Asia, and so he had come up through sushi restaurants on the West Coast. So a lot of the food that he was serving his staff and his that they just shared as comida for staff meals was kind of the basis for why we decided to go with this. We wanted something that was it was great food, but it wasn't necessarily super expensive food, but it had a great story and great history. And then we kind of went to all the other, maybe not necessarily classically trained chefs in our kitchen, but we have great people in our kitchen, and they're from Colombia and Mexico, and they all had their own recipes. So our arepas, our empanadas, we had a chef that made amazing ceviches, and tiradito from Peru, and we just kind of took all those things that everyone grew up cooking. And Tony had traveled. We have a sous chef. He's now our chef de cuisine named Andrew Smith. He had traveled Southeast Asia too. So we kind of leaned on all these people, and then it just becomes exciting because you can study and learn all kinds of different cuisine and add it to the menu. So it's really a lot. There've been a ton of different influences, and then we've also went out and learned some on our own.
Was there so 5 years now? You got through the first few years, and I mean, I know it's never easy. It's always a daily grind. But I mean, you guys have you've got a really popular place. You're a lot of great word of mouth, a lot of fans. I've heard a lot of folks talk about your place. So what do you think you all are doing really well? I mean, you've got really good food. You've got an innovative or pretty unique concept. But I mean, that's only part of it. What are some things that y'all do real well at Buku?
Well, sometimes being lucky is just as good as doing a good job. I mean,
sure.
In downtown Raleigh is really taken off. The food scene in downtown Raleigh is, Ashley Christensen being in downtown Raleigh helps a lot. The fact that the Red Hat moved into our building, that was huge. It was a Progress Energies building, and then Red Hat took it over, and that's a young, hip, fun company to work for, and having those guys as our lunch guests and our happy hour crowd, that's pretty great. We've tried to just respond to all the feedback that we've gotten over the years. So when we started, we were closed on Sunday. Now we do this crazy huge brunch on Sundays because it seemed like something that people wanted. We used to be open till 2 a.m. We thought that we'd just stay open and be open till 2 and have live music and DJs, and thought that was really important for downtown Raleigh. And then all these great bars sprung up around us. So it's nice. We get to close at 10 during the week and midnight on the weekend, and people just go from our place and go hang out at these other great bars that we like to go to too. But I don't know. I mean, we try to respond to everybody else. We have, like valet set up every night, so people who are afraid to park downtown and afraid, think that downtown's such a, difficult place to get around. We try to like appeal to those people too. We just take the feedback. We've been humbled many times with people's suggestions, and we take that and we sit down. We have 10 managers who sit down every Monday, and we go over all the problems of the week, and we try to fix them.
What's an example of a recent one you can think of where you say where you were humbled by something that had to adjust to and fix?
Geez, I mean, it's all the time.
How much of it is like, are there ones where you go, okay, fine, like that person just doesn't get it, or that person's just a grumpy person? Where do you draw the line between somebody being, unreasonable and somebody having a legitimate, I guess it's just instinct, but, how do you manage that? So you're not trying to just, you can only do so much, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, if you think about it, nobody's coming out trying to have a bad time. At least not in we're really lucky to have guests that are there to try new food. They're almost always, celebrating something or going out somewhere to an important show that they want to go to or something. So we start off with this great clientele anyway. And then mostly they're just trying to, try out some new stuff. And so if they're trying out something that, just doesn't sit well with them, then, you have to accept that. And they're probably not trying to, do anything malicious when they complain. They're probably just offering, good constructive feedback. And sometimes the way that we wanted it presented or the way that we want to cook something is not necessarily the way that they think it should be. And we take it all in. And, if you think about like barbecue in North Carolina and offering that, and everyone's different opinion of what barbecue in North Carolina should taste like. Think about that when you're presenting like empanadas. Empanadas are from like all over, South and Central America. So if someone who's been traveling to Central America and South America tastes your empanada and they're like, this is nothing like what an empanada is supposed to taste like, well, you have to just take them. They've tasted, the real thing, and they're going to be different. They're going to be our interpretation is going to be different than theirs, and hopefully, that we put enough time and effort and research into it that it seems like we presented the most authentic thing that we can. But people's opinions matter a lot to us, and we're tweaking the recipes every week.
Wow. Okay. So you really are doubted, and you sound like you guys really are. You say you've been humbled. I mean, but humility is a big part of this, isn't it? Like I'm not hearing, it's like ego can get in the way of success sometimes. But you guys sound like you don't have an ego about it. You really genuinely care about the guest experience and what they think, and you look at it unbiased and make changes in an unbiased way if you feel like it'll benefit the business.
We're just really lucky. We're lucky to have the guests that we have. We're lucky to have the staff that we have, and the fact that we get to do what we love every day is really important. There's some people around us doing it, as good or better than we are. So we have something to strive for. I don't know if you've ever been to Vitamanda, but that's probably one of the most hospitable places to eat in downtown Raleigh. And Van and his sister do an amazing job of making you feel at home. And I think about that every time when I go to work, how comfortable he makes me feel when I sit down in his restaurant. And it's something to shoot for, and it's admirable.
I'm actually interviewing Van, I think next week maybe. Chidi had given me your name and his name.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to that. That's great. Yeah, well, I mean, you've got, so it is good being in downtown Raleigh. I mean, for those of you listening, downtown Raleigh's got, you know, you hear about San Francisco, Charleston, or whatever. But downtown Raleigh just got an incredible culinary scene. I mean, the great restaurants there are just, you'd have to, I mean, take you more than, you know, two handfuls to just, you could just rattle off one after the other, including Sean's Buku that we're talking about now. So, you know, Sean, you said something though. I'll grant you that, okay, so maybe luck is like, you know, red hat moving into your building. Okay, well, that's not something you could account for or plan for, certainly benefits you. So I give you that may be lucky. When you say, though, we're great, you know, we're lucky to have great people working for us, I would say I'd push back a little bit and say, if you have great people working for you, you're doing something right. You know how to hire good people, or you know how to attract people because of the way you operate and your reputation. So what do you guys, I mean, because that's such an important piece of this is it's like you have a vision and you have good food, but then you have to find people that buy into what you're doing and want to work, you know, hard for you and believe in what you're doing. So how do you find those kind of people, especially again in a city like Raleigh where there's, you know, so many great places that great people could choose to work at? How do you know, get them to come work for you?
Well, I guess that's something we really had to like stop and like think about. When we open, just like any other restaurant, you know, you have to hire on so many people and you lose people. And at a certain point, it becomes frustrating to hire somebody, believe in them, train them, and then for whatever reason, you know, in a short amount of time they leave, and it just seems, you know, after a while, the people that are training them, the people that are putting in this extra work, they get a little discouraged. So we had to really stop and be like, okay, we're going to take this seriously every single time. And so when we sit down with somebody that we're interviewing, it's, you know, it's myself and another manager, and we're sitting there and we're asking, like, why do you really want to do this? What do you really want? What do you love about serving people? What do you love about food and drink? And when you go out to eat, what's your favorite thing? What's your favorite restaurant? What do you like to drink? And really start a conversation about, like, why do you want this job? And then when you feel like you're bringing on someone that you really want to work with, you know, like you want to be there day in and day out, hanging out, joking around, then that's a good candidate. And then you like put your heart and soul into like teaching them everything that you know and that makes, you know, that you're able to be successful with. So it starts with taking the hiring process really seriously and not, you know, just taking everybody that, you know, seems like they might be a good fit, and then it's like sticking with them, and you know, and we still lose good people that we would like to have kept for a long time. You know, it's a college town, and so we're lucky to have all these really smart, you know, and exciting people that are maybe the restaurant industry isn't their, you know, their dream, and so they do this for the 3 or 4 years that they're in college, and it's really it's awesome to have that group of people to work with. But then it's, you know, you get to see them go on about their careers, and you wish them the best, but you know you only have them for 2 or 3 or 4 years. So we take it really seriously, and then we do our best to hold on to those people, and mostly we try to have fun together at work. We have a lot of like programs in place at work that remind us that what we're doing is fun, and you know it's not, you know, just like the daily grind of working in a cubicle. We literally have a gold star chart where we like focus on positive things and put up gold stars when people like go out of their way, or they pick up a shift for somebody who's sick, or they, you know, just do something where they go above and beyond. They get a guest compliment or something. We put a gold star up on the wall at the end of the month. Whoever has the most gold stars wins $100.
Nice.
We have a shift beer contest every night. So we like have a sales goal for the night. It's based on last year or it's based on the reservations. And when we hit that number, everyone gets a free beer after work. We close down for company parties. We like do like a baseball / kickball game and company cookout on Memorial Day. We do a Super Bowl party. I mean, we just try to do as many things to take care of the people, the good people that, you know, really enjoy working together every day as possible. And then, you know, when you lose good people, it hurts, but you at least, you know, gave it gave it a good try.
Yeah, I mean, you can't control that at the end of the day, but it sounds like you guys are really making a lot of efforts, and you're keeping, you know, you're just mindful that it's not all about, you know, well, the success is determined by a lot of things, but one of them is by having a happy staff, and it sounds like you guys are really trying to keep things as light as possible and enjoyable so that they enjoy being there and want to be there and want to be a part of it. Hey, Sean, let me ask you this, kind of changing gears. You opened a lot of restaurants over the years, and then you went out and did this on your own. A couple of things that I wonder about are, one is, you know, if you're in a building where Red Hat is, you obviously don't own your building, so you had to do a lease. So is there good advice you have for people that, you know, you've had a lot of experience, I'm sure, at this about, you know, what are some things you think about when you're negotiating a lease? Because it seems like sometimes people can get tripped up by a bad lease negotiation that comes back and bites them down the road or something.
Well, definitely surround yourself with some smart people to take care of the things that you're not good at. You know, if you're good at making really amazing food and giving great service, then and you're not a lawyer, then get a good lawyer and get a good accountant and have those people take care of the things that you're not the best at. But obviously, you know, you have to pay attention to it, and you can't, you know, can't be blind to it. So when those things come up, you try to go into business with people that you trust and you have a good relationship with. So before it was Red Hat, it was Progress Energy, and they really did everything they could when they were building fins for William to try to make him successful. They couldn't have predicted that the economy would do what it would do. But when Red Hat came in, they've been really, really helpful just to try to make us successful. So get in with, you know, a good group of people that you trust that are interested in your success. I mean, Red Hat wants to have a great restaurant downtown for their employees, or downstairs for their employees. And so they do whatever they can to help us. And obviously when they do their Christmas parties or their, you know, after work, end of quarter parties, we throw down for them, and they, you know, they throw really good parties, and we're there to help them do that. So I really just suggest working with good people who you trust and who are interested in your success.
Gotcha. Awesome. And then what about financing the business? Did you guys put your own money in, or did you raise money, or both, or how did you get started?
We put in our own money, and then we had some friends that put in some money, and we made it so that they got paid back first, so that we didn't feel like we were putting them out. And they got paid back in the first little over a year, and they would be excited to do something else with us again in the near future, which we might do. After 5 years, we might be at the point where we've either forgotten how hard it was to open it up in the first place, or we're just that comfortable with our staff, and we have a lot of great talent that would like to, you know, try something else.
Do you do so when you do friends that invest, or if you get investors, do you do a loan, or do they get a piece of the equity, or how do you incent them?
You can do it either way. You know, you can do it straight as a loan, or you can do it as a percentage. If you're doing it, the smartest way to do it is that I've found, or that I've been taught, was get them paid back, and they own a greater percentage before they get their original investment back, and then when they get that back, maybe they go down to a smaller percentage.
Gotcha. Okay. And then so here you are 5 years later, and you're thinking, okay, well maybe it's time. Do you when you start thinking about that, do you think of new concepts, or do you think of taking your same concept and replicating it, or
we're considering both, because it depends on the place, and the space, the building, how close it is to your own other venture. If we were to open something in another city, we'd probably do another Buku and try to make the brand better over time. But if we were to open something else downtown, obviously we'd have to come up with a different concept, because we wouldn't want to compete with ourselves. So, if it's outside of downtown, we would probably try doing another Buku.
Now, what you mentioned earlier, you mentioned Van and him and his wife and their ability to
his sister. His
sister. The hospitality is just off the charts there, and you feel so welcome. So, what else have you learned? Like, what have you learned from somebody else that you admire? In the Raleigh area, and then the other part of that question is, what do you hope people learn from you?
Ashley Christensen's a pretty popular figure for everyone who's thinking about food in Raleigh, and I think the most important part about what Ashley does that maybe people don't talk about is that she always keeps the focus on Raleigh, and she's really, she's happy that Raleigh is emerging as a culinary destination, and she points to everyone else's successes as right alongside with hers, and she points out other chefs that are deserving, and it's really nice to see that from someone who's obviously earned a lot of success, and and she gives back. If you've been to any of her Stir the Pot events, some people think that they want that kind of fame and whatever, but most of the time when I see her, she's working at a charity event of some sort or another, and that takes up a lot of time. So that's great what she's doing, and from me, I hope that I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what. I have a 15-year-old son. If I can keep him on the straight and narrow, that's enough for me.
I hear you, man. You're a humble dude, I can tell. So I'll let you off on that one. But okay, man. I know a lot of people have learned a lot from you, and have a lot of respect for you. So, let me ask you one more question. Is there, in your years in the business, is there anything that you found that, you can talk, there's a lot of ways to be successful in the restaurant business. There's certain things I think you have to nail, but then there's other things that people, one guy does it one way and it works, and one gal does it another way and it works. But what about restaurants that have not made it? Now, I know there's like the ones like Finn's, you have, just unfortunate timing with a certain kind of concept, fine dining, and a kind of in a failing economy. But outside of those things that are kind of unpredictable, are there any common things you see in restaurants that don't make it? Or is there anything you've kind of learned over the years that, hey, you better not do this or you're going to be in trouble?
Hubris is probably the worst thing, is thinking that you know everything, and not taking advice, not listening, not having respect for, the authorities. I've seen people not take health inspections seriously. I've seen people not take, any of like the opening inspections seriously, thinking that they know it all, and They don't take feedback from guests seriously. They don't, and then when they close their doors, they're like, what happened? And I think if you think that you know everything there is to know about anything, but especially about food and because it's always changing, you could turn on the TV and learn about 10 different cultures and food and that you've never seen or understood before. So if you're walking into it thinking that you're the best, you'll be humbled very, very quickly. And so that's just it. Don't think you know everything, and just listen to people. They're probably just trying to help you out.
Man, that's awesome advice. And clearly you followed your own advice, you and Tony, and y'all have just done some great work there, man. So, listen, I know you're a busy guy. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I cannot wait to I live in Charlotte, but my dad's in Cary, so I'm up there every now and again. I'm definitely going to come by and say hello to you guys and hang out with you next time I'm in town. And I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, Sean. We'll talk soon, man.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care.